Welcome everybody to the Room250 podcast.
One tiny pixel at a time.
We all have a room 250. It's that room where creativity happens.
Don't mess it up.
Welcome back to the Room250 podcast. This is season 2, and in this podcast, we talk about design with current and future designers. We try to inspire you one tiny pixel at a time. I am joined by my guest, Angela Marie Johnson. She's a freelance brand designer currently. I'm also joined by my two best friends, Arturo Pete Peralta. He's the art director over at Prime Magazine, and we have Martin Erosoy Bautista. He's the graphic designer at Quillen Advertising. My name is David Sly, and I am the creative director of the Las Vegas Review Journal. And awkward silence.
Very nice. Very nice.
Very nice. Thank you.
Don't forget
I
to
pulled
comment,
back.
subscribe. Don't forget to comment, subscribe, ring that bell for notifications. Follow us on Instagram at the Room250 podcast, on the Tiki-Taki that is no longer banned in the US of A, at the Room250 podcast. Comment, let us know what your thoughts are on today's episode, previous episode. Appreciate all the love, all the comments. Thank you very much.
Awesome. And those of you who are new to our podcast, we are Room 250, and we all have a Room 250 in our lives. Is that special room in your house where you go down and start drawing and start making the magic happen.
That was a weird pause there, bro.
For sure. And special little note for today's podcast. We actually did this podcast, I would say, a week or two ago, and we had some technical difficulties.
Like 3 weeks ago.
Maybe it was about 3 weeks ago.
4 weeks ago.
And so for all of us right now,
yeah.
we are now shooting on Groundhog's Day. So this definitely feels like a Groundhog's Day episode.
It sure does, bro.
Yeah, everybody loves the theme, you know?
Does my camera keep freezing?
Not anymore. You're good, bro.
Not anymore, but it was.
Okay. Yeah.
It's just the start of the new day is what is happening. That's what
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
Right.
We'll just have to keep bringing you back.
I never
in,
have
Pete.
issues. I never have
No,
issues.
never.
I don't know.
Yeah.
All right.
So, as we start every episode, what is everybody drinking? Angela, are you starting with a beer again?
I am. Because we love a
Okay.
theme, and I am in Germany. So I have brought to you today Schlappezeppel. And
Yes.
so it's a local beer-ish to where I live. It's from Aschaffenburg. And it's about like 20 minutes from my little village. And I really like it. It tastes good. But what I like that we did last time is it's very theatrical. And hopefully it's not a dud.
Yeah.
So maybe I should wait. I'll wait till you guys show your drinks. But just a little bit of historical fact. This is from 1631. So
wow.
it's older
I forgot about that.
than America. So that's pretty
Yeah, that's
Nice.
really cool.
So it's a very, very, very
I wonder
classic beer.
What if we could get that here in the States? Because
can
it's a
smuggle it
local
for
beer
you
for you.
next time.
Yeah, smuggle it in.
Yeah. Do it.
Yeah, that's something I forgot to mention in the beginning of the episode is, we're all here in the States and Angela's in Bavaria, Germany. Bavaria, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
thank God.
yeah.
I was going to say Bulgaria, but Bavaria, Germany. And so there's quite a time difference for us. All of us on the United States side, we're shooting at 10:30 a.m. Angela, I think it's 6:30? 7:30?
It's 7:30 with the time.
Yeah,
change,
so it is quite a time difference for us. So Angela, you're drinking a beer. Pete, what are you
I'm having
drinking?
my oven beer.
Well, I just finished my espresso, and it's a little too early to be drinking beer, so I have my water right here.
Nice.
But I'll change my mind in 30 minutes and have a shot of whiskey.
Yeah.
I was almost like, I'm ready to go get a beer too. I'm just drinking water with our Go Knights Go. Woo.
No.
Nice.
Fancy.
Last time I did a shot in the beginning, and I just finished up my dry January, so I only have water, but I will go grab a shot glass and some alcohol.
Ooh.
Yeah, so just give me 1 second. Let me go grab that. I totally forgot about it.
Okay, fine. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, let me go grab it.
Yeah.
Oh man. Man, let me go grab a
Can't
beer
be the
too.
only one out, Martin.
Done.
I know.
Oh, that's fancy. What do you have?
It's just Knob Creek. I think that's what it's called. But I always put my whiskey in a decanter. just
Yeah,
I
that's
could look a little
fancy.
bit more. It's Mad Men inspired. That's all. That's all I want to do
We offer it to
over
your
here.
clients in between meetings.
I mean,
Little
pretty
Don
much.
Draper stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that's the inspiration. I have like a bunch of decanters back here, so I have like
Oh,
three of them.
cool.
So I have different
Nice.
variations of whiskey, but I mean, this is my office. I built it out during COVID, and just it's my little environment. So it's like I never have clients
Yeah.
here. It's my home, but it's like if I had an actual corporate office, I would have whiskey in my office, and that whole Don Draper vibe.
Yeah.
Can't help it.
So,
So what's your
what
shot
whiskey
of
did you
Sly?
know? Oh, okay. So I'm actually gonna do tequila. It's gonna be hard to see. Maybe you guys will be able to see the brand. It is. See if I can get the focus.
Can't see.
Oy.
Can't.
Grease something.
La Gritona Tequila.
Nice.
Reposado. It is 100% de agave azul. Hecho en Valle de Guadalupe, Jalisco, Mexico. 40% alcohol.
Nice.
I gotta,
You do it?
mine's not as. Yeah, mine's.
Yeah, that is fancy.
Nah,
Can
that
you
ain't
give it a
good.
good try?
There you go.
Yeah,
All right,
let's
let's
hear
go.
it.
See if hopefully it's not.
Shh.
There we go.
Yeah.
Good one.
Good shit. I went over and I grabbed garage beer.
Oh,
Love
nice.
the design. Yep. Pete told me about this. Tastes so good.
Sorry, I gotta take my
Frozen
teeth
again.
out.
It's really good. It's very. I usually don't like beers with the lime that they have out there, and this one's very flavorful with a little hint of lime.
Okay, so should we cheers?
All right.
So
Cheers.
last time we did a Prost because it's the
Prost.
German
Yeah.
German cheers. So if you guys want
Prost.
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 Nothing like day drinking, huh?
Oh yeah, I actually
night
had an
drinking.
Irish whiskey the other day at
Oh,
brunch,
nice.
and I don't know why it sounded good. I think I hadn't had it before. I think I thought it was going to be like a Bailey's coffee. And every time I drink it, I just kept making the ugliest faces at like 9:30 in the morning, just having a bite of eggs, and they're just like, why did I do this to myself?
All right.
Yeah.
It sucks getting old at times.
Yeah, I just can't handle it.
I remember I used to take Angela out when we first became friends. I would take you out drinking. And I was really young, so I was hitting the town hard, and
I was like, I needed 2 days to recover from hanging
Yeah.
out with Sly on a Friday. He's like, you want to go
Damn.
do something? I'm like, I will see you Tuesday.
Yeah.
friend."
like
I need to
let's run it
hang
back
out.
again tonight.
I was like, I need to hang out in a dark room.
Yeah.
I mean, when we were at Tropicana, we would go out. Yeah, there'd be times where Sly would get mad at me because it'd be like, okay, let's leave at 4 and let's hit happy hour at 5. And we'd get home at like 3, 4 in the morning. So that was
It's
a
just-
trend for a while. And
it's
then
just one
I
drink.
brought it up. I was like, hey, let's go hit up happy hour. And Sly got mad. He's like, man, every time you say happy hour, it always ends up to like 3 in the morning. So yeah, then we go. That was like on a Tuesday too, when we get to work and be like just hanging and suffering. But it was good times. We had a couch in the office. So we were able to
Yeah, I'm
pass
sure it
out.
was well used.
Oh yeah,
Sure was.
It was. Yeah.
I
I think all of us passed out. Yeah, I think all of us passed out in it, even at one point or another.
One point or
close
another.
Close the door, shut the lights off. You have an hour to take a nap while we go to lunch. But man,
It's so funny.
good
Yeah.
times, good times.
I feel like it's part of your design
days.
process.
Yeah.
Sweat it
Yeah,
out.
pretty
My
much.
body can't handle that no more.
Creative juices. But yeah, let's jump into it a little bit. So can you tell us a little bit about how you got into design and or into art in general?
Yeah, I can. So I would say that whole journey really started for me in high school. So I was born and raised in Las Vegas, and I grew up on the east side of town. So for those of you who aren't in Vegas, it's kind of it's like a little bit of a lower income area, and it's also where a lot of Latinos and people live. So really enjoyed growing up on the East Side. I will always represent the East Side, but the schools in that area didn't have always the best to offer. And so, one of the magnet schools came to our middle school and was like, oh, these are for, creative art programs. And I was in an art class, and I just had a really nice art teacher that really saw something in me and sat with me and helped me create a portfolio to apply to the Las Vegas Academy of Arts, which is a magnet school in Las Vegas. And it was relatively new-ish when I went there.
We're just having some technical difficulties with Pete.
We're here. I'm trying to figure
we
this
can
out.
hear you.
Don't worry about me.
Okay,
Don't worry
I will
about
just,
me.
Just ignore him. What's wrong with it?
It goes with the theme, right? The Groundhog
We're here
Day.
for you anyways.
I'll say it one more time.
So another shot, right? Because we're starting over.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be able to get halfway through the story.
We'll just make it a part 2. We'll make it a part 2.
Just start slurring. But yeah, so I really had a great art teacher that was super nice and really encouraged me. And it was such a nice portfolio that she helped me frame everything with mat boards. And I went to this kind of scary interview at the Las Vegas Academy where you bring your portfolio and you're in this room with like 10 other people with a still life set up in front of you. And while you're they give you about, I want to say 10 minutes. I don't really remember. In my head, it felt like 2 minutes. I'm like, I'm not going to have enough time for this. But they give you 10 minutes, you pick a side and you draw the still life. And while you're drawing, they kind of overlook your portfolio. And so that was kind of my first ever review. And that was at about like 13 years old. And it felt very intimidating. They don't allow parents in the room at the time. So you really do that by yourself. And I was lucky enough to get in. And at the academy, it's kind of set up like a college in that everybody has a major when you go there. So whatever you tried out for, so there was dance, there's music, there's theater, and I was in the visual design program. And so basically I had 2 hours of art every day. And that's where I learned really the basics of drawing and painting. And the thing that I mentioned last time that I really enjoyed about the academy is that in the beginning they really make you follow the art rules. You get instilled in you these are the rules of art. This is form. This is line. This is whatever. And they don't ever use the excuse of no, this is just my style. So when you have a review every week, you would put your artwork up, whatever the assignment was. And you weren't allowed to say oh, that's just a stylistic choice. It's no, you're at this stage, you're not allowed to say that. You have to play within the rules. We're not playing tennis without a net yet. So that was super instilled in me, is that it's really important to learn the rules before you play them.
Did you try to use that excuse when you first started? Oh, this is just my style.
No, but I will say, so going from my middle school, there was, if you had a talent in drawing or something, I'm sure you guys remember that one kid in school could super draw, animate or something. And so it was
everybody wanted something.
Yeah. And so when I was in middle school, I was the person that drew. I would draw drawings for people's folders, little hearts, whatever. And so I was it was the best one. It was me and this other girl were the best ones in the whole school. And so you kind of feel so confident. And then I'm of course I got into this great school. First review, there was people already painting hyper realistic stuff at 14. It was prodigy level artists. And I was oh wow, I'm at the bottom now. I am one of the worst ones at this school. And so I really just didn't say, I was no, there's no way I can make an excuse. I just have to come better every week. But it is one of the things that taught me the lessons of good competition, that if I would have just stayed at another school, I don't think I would have thought I needed to improve. I don't think I wouldn't have seen the competition out there at that age. I just thought I'm good. I'm really good for my age. It's oh, then you see people at your other peers and you're actually, you're capable of doing much more. I just kind of was living in my level of success I was having at school. I was getting good feedback. I'm really good. And then, I'm in this whole other environment where the game is just completely different.
And boom, ego checked.
Yeah, it was like, oh God, this is embarrassing. Like your first one, like here's a bit cute. Like it was a sketchbook assignment, so I took it literally. You draw a sketchbook and you show a cute sketchbook. And it's like, no, it really means anything. It just means painting, drawing, whatever. So people were just coming up with these amazing concepts with really great skill every week, and I was like, oh wow, okay. But yeah, it was after a few years though, you really start to level up and you get more confident. But the other great thing about that school was that you have to do these reviews all the time, and so and it's not like online little troll stuff. Like you're not allowed to just say whatever you want in the reviews. They give you strict kind of guidelines of like, okay, if you say you don't like something, it has to be, what doesn't it bring? Why doesn't this work? Is it the form? Is it the volume? Does it not have texture? Is it overworked? Is it too muddy? Mm-hmm. Are the colors overrun? Did you blend it too much? And so, not only are you asking better questions, but you're prepped to answer questions that way. And so, that's kind of like a through line though, I think, like from art to design. It prepped me later on that, okay, when you want to be an art director, you need to be able to clearly communicate to your designer, like, why isn't that working? Because everybody hates to hear just make it pop.
Oh, interesting.
Use more design.
Pete's design. Yeah. He would give us stuff back and it would just be written on there. Use more graphic design.
Yeah.
You knew what I meant, though. You knew what I meant, right? You came back.
No, but that's interesting.
You guys are so tight that I'm sure you knew the communication.
Yeah, but, it was like basically it said it sucked. Pete's like, it sucked.
But it's basically like, you knew you transitioned and it wasn't good, so go back and try for real.
It wasn't that it wasn't good. It was just that it was missing like elements or just a few things. Like you're heading in the right direction, but you flex those skills. Like those skills. So add more graphic design. Like figure that.
Yeah, I guess you could say it more so taught us like, oh, what are we missing? We need to use our eye to be like, hey, what is that thing that he's saying to use more? He obviously sees it. What are we not seeing? And that's, going back to your point, Angela, I think that's really interesting as well, how they were teaching you. Because to me, it sounds like take all of your emotion out of it. What logically is missing? What's going on? Like they're teaching you at a very young age to think like that. Versus like in my art school, they were just like, oh yeah, do your art and like, oh, you can use these programs, and nobody really thought about it that way. And that's really interesting. I like that.
Yeah, it was a really great school with really great programs, and I really enjoyed, like, there was also art history and things like that. But then by the end, by like your fourth year, you're allowed to break out of the mold. So for instance, we got taught so many different techniques, like how to do live painting, how to do live drawing, but also how to use references, how to blend the both, and then metal etching or whatever you wanted to do, multimedia. So whatever the assignment was, you had everything at your disposal, and then you had to explain why you use these different tools. But you also couldn't say like, here's my painting, and if someone critiqued your color usage, or like, actually the form is missing, like it's not so circular, so I'm not going back to the focal point, there's something missing in this layout. And you can just be like, that's from my reference photo, that's how it was on the photo. They'd be like, not at this stage. Like, no, you need to you have to color correct in your head, you have to like be able to scoot in the form, you need to see that needs adjustment at this stage, so that was kind of one of the things that also, like, by the fourth year, you also couldn't get away with certain things, that they trained you on in the beginning. So there was this evolution of your skills and this kind of like freeing you at the end, but it's also a very rigorous program. I ended up doing the AP program the last year, so that's kind of like a college class in high school. It gives you college credit. And I think you had to turn in like 30 paintings or something in a year, which was a lot on top of other classes.
Holy shit.
What was
and like 10 of them had to connect, I think.
What was your favorite like new technique you learned when you were going to school there?
I mean, the thing that I love to this day, so I basically loved drawing so much when I was in middle school, and then when I got to high school, it was like, They taught us how to oil paint, and I just always really liked the classical techniques of oil painting. I think it's a little bit because I'm a little bit more indecisive. I like to push the paint around, and oil paint dries a little bit slower. And so I can always change things. I can always layer on top of it. But there's so many techniques also within oil painting, washes and certain like brush techniques that you can do to like create these different dynamics to the painting that's just like even with just one medium you can do so much. And so that's what I do to this day is oil painting with usually an acrylic background of some kind. But we also did fun stuff like I haven't done too much of it.
You're layering acrylic with oils?
So I just do a base of an acrylic usually like shapes or some kind of underpainting, and then I overlay that with oil paint. And then, But no acrylic back over that. Just a base layer of acrylics and then oils on top.
I didn't know you could.
Yeah, how long does?
I didn't know you could do that. I thought that oils had to be strictly on the canvas itself because of how much you could work with them, and obviously they're oils, so it takes a long time for them to dry. So I didn't know you could actually work on it. That's pretty cool. I had no idea.
Yeah, it's pretty nice because acrylics are drying really quickly. So if you want like an underpainting or something like that, it's really nice to have an acrylic base. I paint a lot of time on wood too because it absorbs the oil paint and it dries a little bit quicker. So sometimes if I'm just trying to work on stuff or work out a concept, I'll draw on wood or paint on wood before I take it to canvas.
Nice.
How long does a painting take you right now?
Oh my God, if I'm being honest, the last one.
Like 3 years.
If I sit down and do a painting, it wouldn't take me that long, But I think because I just do it so leisurely, and sometimes I get in my own way a little bit about finishing a painting. So the last one took me like 3 years because I hated the background. The background, and so I redid it like 6 times. I finally finished it. But I was like done. I was really done with it 6 times, and I was like, just put it up. I was like, no, I hate it. So
Did you post it anywhere?
It's on my website now, but
it's on your website.
It's on my website. It's on Behance. On Behance.
Oh, on your Behance.
Okay,
gotcha.
Mark will find it.
Pull it up for us.
Yeah. But that one was a beast.
So we got through high school. You started doing AP classes. At that point, were you the best in the class, or do you feel like
no? But I felt like for sure. There was 3 people that were just amazingly good, like just painting at such a like hyper realistic level that just required so much detail and just interesting color choices, really pushing things. But I did feel that I was in the top 5, or 6, like the people that I hung out with, the people that we did like art shows with, I felt like I was in that level of art. And if I stayed with it, I could still keep pushing, but there were some people really doing some, large scale paintings. But sometimes I give myself a little bit of grace because I did work full time. I was working a full-time job. So all my painting and things that I could do outside were like in between my shifts at a restaurant and on the weekend, sleeping like
in
3
high
hours
school?
a day. Yeah, I was working since I was like 15.
Sorry, I found your paintings. Here they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's see the one that she reworked.
This one.
This is the one. Yeah. It's quite large. But
how big is it?
So it took me a little while. Oh, can I just do hands?
It's about
I don't know, 3 feet by 5 feet, something like that.
Probably.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Wow.
But that one's also on wood. I just had some extra wood laying around, so that was just supposed to be like a fun little throwaway to practice doing shadows again. And but I really
did you have that background? And you just changed the colors, or like you changed everything about the background?
I changed everything. Before it was a desert landscape with like cactuses, and it was turquoise, like kind of like a more teal background, but I just didn't like it. There was a couple more. It was kind of all over.
So you repainted the entire canvas?
Yeah. Just not her. I kind of like photoshopped her like as a mask, and then everything else changed like 6 times.
So you just a whole new coat of oil on top of that oil? or do you scrape that off? How does that process work?
I just actually did acrylic because the oil was dry, and so
Okay.
I just did I think for one of the layers, and then I would just for this one it was just straight oil on top of the other one. It was a little bit hard though to remap what I wanted to do because I had all these detailed cactuses that I was trying to paint over, and
Yeah.
I really hated my life for like a few months. I was like, oh, maybe I should have just left it.
Oh, I'm sure.
But I actually like it now.
Yeah.
If I recall correctly, you use grids when you paint, right? Like that's how you do your stuff.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool. When I draw, I don't use any grids or stuff, but it would probably be very beneficial because for proportions and stuff, I always get that wrong. I'm always like doing it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
But
if
the
I'm
grids probably help.
small, I don't really do that.
Stop
but
sharing,
if it's a larger piece, I use grids. But yeah, I think if I painted more often, I would probably try to get away from it. But it's just helpful.
No, I
for
think
me
it
to
helps.
get the
I mean,
proportions right.
yeah.
I mean, I was taught the grid method, but I never used it. I always found it confusing because I just like the free flowing. I like the free flowing of just stuff. Granted, I never painted with canvases with oils or acrylics. I was always like Sharpies and colored pencils. Like that to me was the shit. I always wanted to do comic book art, so I related more towards that than like gouache or acrylics or oils. That was not working with a paintbrush was totally different to me. I just did not. I could never get a hang of it.
It's hard.
But markers
It's hard in the
and
beginning.
pencils all day, no problem with that.
I tried oil paintings. I tried to get into it. I just couldn't. It was too frustrating. Just it never dries. You have to wait, and I was like, no. I love gouache and watercolors because like you're on there, and then you go grab a beer, and then you come back, it's dried, and then you jump on it and build it. It's fun, but
So you were working through high school, all the way up
Yeah.
until when you graduated. So
Yeah,
wow, you were
'cause we
finding
have
the
to
time.
pay for my whole family is basically low income. So my dad was working, and just to kind of help with all the finances of the house and just art supplies. I'm trying to save up for college. So, and I bought myself a car so I can get to and from work. So it was basically just trying to save all my finances, but it helped me. I can't imagine doing that now, but yeah, I did that from basically high school to college, where I worked full time and went to so it was a lot to balance, and always
Well, you were
taking,
also
like, a
young
full
and had
load
the
of
energy,
classes.
you know.
Yeah, it was crazy because I was bussing tables. When I first started working, I was a dish runner, basically like almost a dishwasher, 3 days a week, and then I would bus tables 3 days a week at the restaurant. And me and my dad worked at the same casino, so I would just wait for him in the employee dining room and like be drawing or doing all my homework I could,
Nice.
Damn.
Wow.
and then
Wow.
painting when I get home at like 1 a.m, and just like smelling like prime rib juice because I worked at the steakhouse.
Man, I can't even imagine how many like Las Vegas stories are like that, where it's like the parents are working there and then the kids are also like
Martin.
as they're coming up working there as well. Yeah, Martin,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean,
dude,
half
I
of
worked
this
the
podcast-
trop. My mom worked the trop. I worked the trop when I was like 16 or 16 and a half, and my mom worked there. And then 10, 20, 15 years later, I worked there again with these guys, and my mom was still working there.
We're just a couple of Nepo babies, if you think about it, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I see it at the swap meet when I work with Sonia. It's like there's adults working there, and then they have their kids. Because where are you going to bring your kids? You're going to bring them to work, and they're going to help out as
Yeah.
well.
Oh, dude, that's
It's
how I grew up with my mom's business first launched. It was at the swap meet in Cali, and Saturday and Sunday morning.
What's your mom's business?
She's a florist, so flower arrangements for all kinds of
Nice.
events. But she slowed down now. She doesn't really do it as much. She works for Albertsons, and I mean, they set her goal for Valentine's Day is $100,000 that she has to sell in flowers this year. So they have high expectations. Granted, they're very pricey. But yeah, last year that was the goal that was put on her, and she hit it. So she got a nice fat bonus on that. But
Nice.
Saturday and Sunday morning growing up, we go to the swap meet and in the van, and we set up the tent, and my mom would give me like $2 to go get breakfast at the cafeteria, and then I'd be there all day. Helping
Which
my
swap
mom.
meet?
I was in
The
Orange
Body
County.
Case or?
I
Oh,
don't remember
okay.
where it was. Yeah, I don't remember the name, but it was one of the bigger ones outdoors. And then I mean
Mhm.
that's what we were doing on the weekends, just hustling. And then same thing when we came to Vegas,
That's
kept
what you
doing it for a
do.
couple years, and then eventually grew and grew, and bam.
Yeah,
That's
that's
nice.
awesome. Yeah, so you're working at the casinos, and then where did
Mm-hmm.
you go to college? Did you paid for your own
So,
college?
yeah, I paid for my own college. I went to UNLV. I had applied to a couple of art programs, like a couple of art schools, and I got in to some smaller ones and some bigger ones. But when I started talking about financial aid and just looking at like loans and stuff, I just got really overwhelmed, and I didn't really have anybody at the time in my family that could help me kind of sparse through all of that
Mm-hmm.
paperwork and is this smart or is this not smart? It just seemed really overwhelming to take out a loan that young. And so, yeah, when I talked to
Yes, I can
UNLV, it was
attest.
like, yeah.
I can attest to that.
Yeah, it was just like, it just seemed like a big decision. And I already had a job that paid relatively well. Working in the restaurants, I was making like $40-$60 a day in tips as a bus person. And I think it was like $9 or $10 an hour. So it was like relatively good money back in the day. And it was stable. So I was just like, okay. And it was a swing job. So I could still go to school in the daytime. So I just
Mhm.
thought maybe I should just keep my job.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I honestly though, when I was thinking about it, I think being low income sometimes makes you a little bit more risk adverse. And I was just really scared to kind of make that financial leap or that like, oh, should I put all my eggs in this art basket? Like, oh, that's really scary because if I don't make it, I don't make it.
Mm-hmm.
I won't have a backup. I don't have a net under this tightrope that I'm walking. And so I just thought I need to be a little bit smarter about like my future. And so I actually started at UNLV as a science major. I just thought I need to make
Wow.
a hard turn. And I thought, okay, I'll be an environmental science major. There was also really good classes at LVA we got to do like fun debate stuff, and I felt really involved in certain programs. So I thought, okay, I'll do environmental science, and then I can go to law school and be an environmental lawyer. And that seemed less
Such a
stressful
left
because you don't.
I know. So like the
Mars, like,
opposite
okay.
from what we do. Like
Yeah.
I thought
I'm
like,
not gonna
I can
express
always.
myself no more.
Yeah, I thought I could just always do it on the side. I can always paint on the side. I've learned some really good skills already. And then here I'm going to learn like skills where I can actually make money. And so that was
Mm-hmm.
my goal. And then after like 3 years of science, I ended up taking a marketing class. It was some requirement. I can't remember. It was like a macroeconomics class, and it just came so easily to me that I just thought, man, marketing is actually really interesting, and it just seemed very also creative in its own way, like with the
Mm-hmm.
strategy and having to come up with stuff. And that's when I really started thinking, like, oh man, I actually really don't like I really this like all the subjects I'm taking are so dry. Like they're kind of interesting, but they are not that easy for me. And I think I was equating easy with my interest, and so I thought, okay, I really need to think about what can I do that's creative where I can still make a career. And then that's when I started talking to counselors and stuff, and they recommended graphic design and that I could take. They had this program at the time where you could combine two majors, so I wouldn't have to completely redo everything. And so I combined
Oh,
marketing and
nice.
graphic design. So yeah, that was really nice. It was part of the arts college, so you can still combine the two. So that was a really nice program also in its own way. So I felt like still, instead of having to do 3 years of college, I can finish in two. So I don't have to do an additional one more year. So yeah, it
Did
was
you get
good.
any like I want to say grants or what's the other thing? Like
Like
not
Scholarships.
financial
loans.
aid?
Yeah, scholarships.
Scholarships.
Yeah, did you
Yeah,
apply for any of those?
I did. I forget what was it called back in the day? I think it expired after my year, but if you
Mm.
got like a 3.0 or something,
The Millennium
in Nevada,
Scholarship.
The
you got,
Millennium.
Oh
yeah.
yeah, the
Millennium.
Millennium.
And
Millennium.
then I got a little bit for like book money was a little grant for book money. It was something like 50 or $100. It was not big, but I just tried.
It's like one book.
I didn't try much. Yeah, I didn't try much out of that though, because I was like, it just takes so much time to write essays and to apply to all that stuff. And with like full-time work, I just I don't have time to really do all that stuff. So that was basically it. But I probably could have and should have applied for more, but I was able to pay for school out of pocket.
Nice.
With my jobs at the time. I lucked out, and by the time I graduated, UNLV had just doubled their tuition cost. So
It's crazy.
I think I got out at a good time. I didn't have to take out any loans, and I could just finish. So that was good.
Would you recommend someone to attend UNLV for the graphic design program?
I mean, it's been so long since I was there, so I don't know if it's expanded in any ways, but it was not developed, I would say, when I was there. There was one computer graphics lab that was being used for classes and for doing your assignments outside of class. So you basically had to schedule time to do your stuff in between classes. So that's really inconvenient. And there just wasn't that many teachers. So when you were in class, it felt like it would take a long time for them to come to you. So you're basically just doing YouTubes in class until the teacher can like maybe look at your work. So the teacher to student ratio felt really overwhelming. But the teachers they had were good. Like the teachers they had were like really good graphic designers who knew their stuff. It's just they have a lot of students. And the assignments that we got were really nice. But I think I mentioned last time that like it just felt like when I got there, I was missing a class. Like I felt like they were just like, here's the assignment, and I don't even know how to open up Illustrator. Like I don't know what the pen tool is.
Oh, that's
and
right.
Like make a poster,
Yeah.
and I was like, what?
Yeah.
I know how to paint. I don't. Don't know what I'm doing. I don't know like any of this stuff. And so that felt really overwhelming. And I did start, because I wanted to catch up a little bit, I started my graphic design classes in the summertime. So the classes were a little bit condensed. So maybe if I started in the fall, it would have fanned out. But yeah, it was the first time I thought maybe I made a mistake, because it was really like, oh my God, this is so much to learn. And I like switching my fine arts brain over to graphic design.
Digital.
It took a long time to, with fine arts, you're telling a super long story. You're building, and there's symbolism that you want people to look 2, 3, 4 times and every time find something. And with graphic design, it's like, how much can you distill that they're going to get in 2 seconds? Where is scientific? Where do you want their eye to go? And the information, and just that took me a long time to switch over, to be able to like, okay, turn this off, turn this on. We're talking in simple images that are easy digestible. So yeah, that took some time, and I definitely got it from some of the graphic design teachers on some of the assignments, because I don't remember if I mentioned it last time, but we had this like to make your own font assignment. Did you guys ever have something like that?
Yeah.
That was really interesting. I
thought it was so fun, but also really hard, and I just didn't have a grasp of the pen tool or like shapes or how to build stuff. And so I think my font was based on a fruit. It was kiwi. And so I just drew every letter by hand and literally did all these really intricate, fuzzy lines, and had the O being like a cut in half kiwi with like little details and stuff. So it was like kind of interesting. It looked a little punk rockish, with lots of like shadows and sketches and stuff, a little bit rough. And then I just live traced it, just barely cleaned it up, just live traced it, because I was like, that was the only way I thought I could problem solve this, because like there's no way I can make that many letters by Friday. Like I just can't. What? And so, but they're like, he was like, this is the last time you can turn in something like this. This is not design, Angela. This is stop doodling. Stop putting your sketches. Like, okay, I'm so sorry, but I need some time.
So, I mean,
did you ever?
Go ahead, Slay.
I was just gonna say, did you ever have to go back and like take some of those classes, or did you just learn it on the fly as you were going?
Like, what do you like? Did I have to go back?
Like in
Or
Illustrator or InDesign or Photoshop? Like, did they have any classes like that you could take, or you were just like, okay, I'm gonna have to figure it out at some point?
I just kind of like have to figure it out. I
Mm,
just figured it out, and it definitely got easier as the classes went on because like once you learn the basics, it's okay, and then it gets hard again when it was like animation or something like that. Because I felt like I just got a handle on flat design, and then I had to think of like making a bunch of different frames working together. So that was also like, oh my god. But
mm-hmm.
yeah, I think when I left there, I felt really, really secure in the marketing side of my skills. The like business program at UNLV is really one of the best. It's really, really a good school, and we had really fun projects. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed the marketing classes that I had. And for the degree that I was getting where you had to combine both, you had to do a capstone project combining the marketing and design, or like whatever the two subjects that you picked, and you had to show how you would use them. And so basically I had made like a shoe brand company and then did all the marketing strategy behind it, and when the company would break even and what it would look like if we broke into other markets and other countries, what the building would look like, and then you do all the design part, like the signage and stuff like that, but the actual locations of the store and foot traffic, and it had to be based on like real data. And so that was like really fun to be able to like, okay, you're flexing your business skills and then, the design stuff. And for me, I like at the time, I was like so excited that I could do this creative stuff with like marketing and with graphic design. But leaving UNLV, I did feel like, oh, I wish I felt a little bit insecure about my use, like my skills. So it was like, oh man, I don't know how fast it would be, I think is what it is. Like I understand it, but how fast will I be on the job? And that made me feel a little bit scared entering the job market. So, but yeah,
Pete,
in
you had a
terms of,
question?
Yeah, it just seems like the UNLV and the Art Institute kind of just throw you into the fire when it comes to joining the school. Because I mean, when I joined the Art Institute, I think it was typography was one of my first classes, and I'm like, I don't even know what that word is. Number one,
Yeah.
number two, they told me, oh, just use Illustrator to work on this project, and I was like, well, what the fuck is Illustrator? I don't even know what that is. I did a sketch pad and pencil. That was my only medium that I ever worked on. I never worked on anything on the computer. So that was different. And I went in for animation. Like I could illustrate, no problem, but I didn't know 3D Studio Max, Maya, Photoshop, Illustrator, none of that stuff. And they just looked at me weird, like, well, what are you doing here? It's like, well, you guys assigned me this class. Like, why isn't there like some just baby step intro class, to get you, the workaround on how to use Illustrator, how to open up the program. So that sucks. Like that sucks, being excited about something like that, and then you just kind of get tossed into the fire. You're like, because that could demotivate you and just make you want to quit too. So that's definitely something that I know UNLV needs to work on. The Art Institute obviously isn't around anymore, but we're very critical of UNLV. There's just stuff that we've met with graduates leaving it now, and it just seems like you're paying for a YouTube degree. Like no one's really there teaching you and holding your hand. Like the Art Institute was extremely expensive and up to an extent, fraud on certain things and a scam. But I mean, the teachers that we had were the shit. I mean, amazing. Paul Fens, I still communicate with him. He's the head creative director for Dogfish Head Brewery. I mean, he taught us a lot. He was very strict, but he taught us so much shit that was actually like real world and the real world experience that he had. Same thing with like Don Leas, who was like the head creative for Toyota.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace to him. So we had really great teachers, but there was it just sucks that sometimes you don't get that very first kind of like hold my hand introduction courses and be taught like, okay, this is what you're supposed to do. That way you don't feel so like, oh shit, like what did I do? I fucked up. I shouldn't be here. Or maybe I should switch. Because some people, if they don't have the mental toughness, they'll be like, well, this isn't for me. After one day, this is not for me. And they'll switch. And they could have had a great career in graphic design or whatever it might be.
And the thing about the Art Institute as well is like they were giving us projects that they had themselves gotten from their own clients. Like I remember he was talking about Paul Thens. He was like, he would give us a project, and then after we'd complete it, he's like, this was actually something that I got from a client at this time, and it's interesting to see how you guys did it, because this is how I did it versus how you guys are going about it. Or I think Don Leas did the same thing, and he's like, "This is all of your constraints. This is everything that I got. Now you take it, and how would you come up with this thing?" So it was really interesting. But I agree with Pete. It's like there were definitely things where it was like they throw you in, and you're like, "Well, I've never done any of this." They're like, "Well, that's what you signed up for." And it's the same thing with you, Angela.
No.
I mean,
I think so.
but I'm glad they had good
also going
teachers.
from yeah, I mean the teachers are also good. So it's like I don't think it's on them. I just think it's like the way the program is like set up, and I don't know who's doing like who's setting like the benchmarks. But yeah, when I think going from LVA to LV2, it's like there was this real like leveling up every year. So like here's these base skills. So when we learned drawing, it was like here's etching and then cross hatching, and this is how you do it with a blender stick, and then this is how you do it with charcoal, and this is how you do it actually reverse. This is how we're going to do all charcoal, and then we're just going to use an eraser to do highlights. And so it was like this
even pencils too,
like
HB, 3B, 6B.
We had a whole class on like here's your pencil set, because here's the stuff you have to go out and buy, and then an ebony pencil. Why that's so nice. And so it was like explaining all the different.
I was used to mechanical pencil, and I'm like, what the fuck is H? HC, 3B, 6B, 9B. Like, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was such a thing.
But it's really nice to be able to know the ins and outs of all the tools before, and then like just getting little assignments that don't mean fancy, that don't mean so much. And then so when you have these more higher concept assignments, then you're like, oh yeah, okay, actually I can do this. I can do really fun stuff with this.
Yeah, because you know all of the tools and all of the basics of all the other stuff.
And that's what I felt frustrated, because I felt like when I was getting these design assignments, I was like, oh my God, I have like a really cool idea that I like want to do, but I was like, how would I actually do this though? How would I actually execute this? And that became really frustrating to me, that I felt like I was being hindered by the software. I was like, I just have to learn this software, because I think I have really good ideas, but I just, it's like learning another language. You're like, I want to finish this sentence, but I don't have the words. I don't have the vocab. And so, that it just felt
that's real quick.
That's so sad because
having audio issues, or is it everybody?
No, I hear everything fine.
Okay, so okay.
Yeah, that's messed up, because like back then, I think like we were in a weird transition from like traditional art to digital. So I feel like back then they should have for sure like taught you those basic classes, how to use Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator. Nowadays, I don't want to say that is more acceptable, but it kind of makes more sense that, these positions like, well, it's a digital age. You should already know how to use these. You should have already been using them in high school. I'm just trying to like, high school. But no.
I just want to say, the only classes that were teaching any of the programs were like extracurricular. So like my art class wasn't teaching me digital stuff.
Yeah, no.
But Yearbook was teaching InDesign, because Yearbook laid out the book. So my art class, they were like, oh, if you want to get some experience, if you're going to go to like a design school, work with the Yearbook team, because they're actually using the program. So it's really kind of backwards. So I agree with you, Martin, but also I was not in Yearbook, but I was helping them do the program and like laying stuff out for them.
Jealous of those Yearbook kids having those.
Yeah, I know, right?
Martin,
they can do whatever they want.
Martin, to go back on your point, like it's like going to school to become a mechanic. You drive a car every single day, but it doesn't mean you know how to work on the engine or transmission or anything like that, right? So same thing, you're going to UNLV to be a designer. You're paying all this money. It doesn't matter. Like you can test out of the course. Sure, you don't have to take, I don't know, Photoshop 101 if you could test out of it. But yeah, you should be baby steps. This is how you open it. This is the new canvas. This is resolution. This is 1632, 8-bit, all that crap. CMYK, RGB, just the lay of the land, and then onward. But no, you should always, if you're starting that program, you definitely should be holding your hand at the very beginning. I mean, even now, till 14 years later, there's still stuff in Photoshop that I don't know. I'm like, oh shit, you can do that? I had no idea. Oh shit, you can do this? I had no idea. So
yeah, if you check out our last episode on, hack episode for Adobe, that's what we were talking about. And Pete learned some stuff. I learned some stuff. Martin learned some stuff.
So did I.
Angela will learn some stuff when she sees the episode when it comes out.
Yeah, I was like, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah.
We're dropping
This season
them.
hasn't
It's in
come
the
out yet. Yeah.
future. We're in the past
Yeah.
right now. It's going to be in the future.
Well, I
Yeah.
think future Angela says it's pretty good.
Yeah.
There you go. Get it.
So would you be able to teach Photoshop right now or Illustrator? Like if you were to pick one of the design programs, what would you feel confident to teach someone coming into UNLV?
I think Illustrator and InDesign are
Okay.
like the two ones that
Nice.
I feel the most confident in because I'm an illustrator on the side. So I do stock illustrations and I do custom brand illustrations. So that's something I feel really good about my workflow. And then, making symbols and things like that. But also, InDesign because previously worked at the RJs. I've worked in print and things like that. So I really feel comfortable in InDesign. I think those are the ones that I like in and out. I'm always expanding. I was telling Sly I'm currently learning Figma and
I had to learn
and
that.
workflow and stuff like that, but I wouldn't say I could like teach a class on it or anything.
Yeah.
But,
Do you name your layers in Illustrator?
ooh.
Yeah, how's your design hygiene?
Yeah.
Do you
if you were to
name your
hand that
layers out?
file?
I mean, in InDesign, Photoshop, and After Effects, yeah. In Illustrator, sometimes it's just not so important. Like, it might not be every layer, but it might be a group. So, like, if I've already made like a person, and then a background or like certain elements. But if it's just, the hair or the face or whatever in Illustrator, I just don't think it doesn't feel as important as in Photoshop.
Do you hand
I don't know.
those
But if
those
I'm
files over?
No, I guess because I'm just
Oh.
working with myself. But even, but for me, it's like, yeah, okay, that's the person later. That's like, for me, that's nice. But if I was working in a team, I probably would. If I wanted them to do the hair or whatever, or make edits to the hair, maybe. But yeah, in Photoshop, I layer everything because it is really more important visually. But in InDesign or in Illustrator, I don't know why. It just doesn't feel as necessary.
Yeah. I
You
hear
can
you.
just grab it. But
So, did you find a design job right out of college?
Kind of ish. So I was working at I was working for the Thomas Keller Restaurant Group.
Okay.
I was working for Bouchon at the Venetian, and I started there as a hostess, and in the summertime I would be a cocktail server at the pool. They service a little lounge pool that they had outside by the patio. And so I was basically going to school there while I was finishing college, and one of the bar managers, I kind of overheard him talking about how he had to do this bar manual. He was putting together stuff to teach people how to make all the specialty cocktail drinks. And I had just asked him, like, I have to do this like thing as an assignment for school. Like, can I just do that for you? Like, it would be really cool to have like a real client. And he's like, okay, I can't pay you. I was like, no, that's really fine. Like, I just want to have like a real excuse to do something. And then he's like, yeah, that'd be great. And so he actually paid me in like bar supplies. So we had like a really fancy like shaker and like stuff to make cocktails. So like, when you're in college, like, look at this fancy set I have.
Yeah.
And so, and he gave me a
Like,
couple
who's coming
bottles
over?
of beer, so that was
Yeah.
really-
I don't have any
like,
alcohol,
oh my God.
but
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to make this, but so that was really nice. And then so I got all the assets from him, and I made a little booklet, little bar manual, and it was really strategic about how I turned it in. So on the patio that we had next to the like kind of our bar area, the managers would come and have their lunches because it was such a really nice view. And so when they would all have their lunch, I decided to print extra copies and give them all one, and was like, hey, I just made this bar manual, for this manager, and I thought maybe you all would like to look at it to give me any feedback or notes and things like that, and so I can make changes. And then I want to say it was like literally that day, it was just the look of it that someone in the offices was putting in their notice, and was like, oh,
Wow.
you look like someone who can handle their stuff around the office. Like, would you like to also work with us behind the scenes? And I was like, oh my God, yeah, that would be great. So
that's
it was
awesome.
really nice. And so I just kind of migrated down to the office, and my technical title was culinary liaison. And so they wanted to, they're like, we can give you some design projects, but I basically did so much stuff. I worked kind of in every department and did a lot of project management, special projects, got to travel between LA and New York and Los Angeles because they had restaurants in those groups. So it was my first time traveling for work, which was really nice. But it was where I learned like the importance of brand. Like that is where I really like cut my teeth on like branding and why it's so important. So the owner and the chef of the restaurant is Thomas Keller. And so for people who don't know, he's got 2 or 3 Michelin star restaurants, one in New York called Per Se and one in San Francisco called the French Laundry. And then he has more casual dining places like the Bouchons. And he's so meticulous. He's such a storyteller. And it just comes through in his brand. He really controls how everything looks. And he doesn't just put his name on anything. Like sometimes you see those celebrity chefs and you see their stuff in frozen food aisles or at the airport or whatever. And he's like so particular. He's like, his name means something. His name is his brand. And he won't put his name on something that's not the best. And so that was amazing to see. So like the cookbooks all tell like these amazing stories. They're amazingly designed by his design company that basically designed all his brands. It's called Level. They're out of San Francisco. Really great. It's a small.
I've heard of that.
Where they were at the time. I don't know if they've expanded yet.
You should pull that up, Martin.
They're a husband and a wife, and so they're a small company. I don't know if Thomas is he's maybe their main person, but Jolene, who's the I think main designer, she's a really great illustrator. Does all their cutesy little illustrations that they do. If you go to like the Instagram for Bouchon or Thomas, they have all these really great little things that they do that are still high end but approachable. So I always really liked her style. So yeah, I did a lot of the event design that it didn't have so much to do with the brand. We did a lot of events at Bouchon and like also the photography, like being able to watch the photographers work. And
they come and do the photography as well, or
so no, not Level, but he has a separate photographer. She actually didn't shoot food before, and that's a great just really shot. Loved her. Yeah, he just really loved her style. Yeah, it's amazing.
That's a great shot. I love food photography. I mean, to me,
do you think those fries fell out afterwards? Because I mean, it's a great shot, but like,
no.
The next shot is like they're everywhere.
That bowls. I'm sure it could be probably like. I'm sure it could probably be like maybe a composite of 3 or 4 shots.
But
sometimes I mean, you get it on the first shot, just trying it, and it just everything matches. But. Unfortunately, Angela, I need to jump out. I would like to be more part of this conversation, but unfortunately today, I got my kiddos. They're screaming in the background. So it was great. Just like in the first episode, it was great speaking with you.
Groundhog's Day.
I look forward to hearing the rest of the conversation with the guys, and we'll definitely do another part 3 because it's great, having you around and having a conversation and just. I think we're just scratching the surface with your story because I can definitely tell you have so much to share and you have so much passion for what you do. So, maybe next time we just cover about painting in general and talk about paintbrushes and techniques. But enjoy your day, gentlemen. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
And, we'll see you later.
See you guys later.
All right.
See you later,
Pete.
Bye.
This time I will not jump off. Last time, for people wondering, after Pete jumped off a little bit later, I had to jump off as well, but that'll not be happening this time. I have the day completely cleared. That's really interesting that they work. Oh yeah, have some beer. It's really interesting that you worked at Bouchon and you kind of put it out in the universe, like Martin likes to say. You manifested your destiny. By presenting it to the managers. That's really interesting. I mean, I would have never thought to ask that sort of question, working at a restaurant, like, hey, is there any design that I could do?
But I think I was just trying to be very adaptable because I graduated during the recession, I think so.
Oh, okay.
And so it was just really hard to find any job openings anyways. And so I just thought, like, how do I make this work for me here? You know, like, they already liked me. They already saw my work ethic in terms of like a server, and everybody knew I was in college for design. So that was like already something they were aware of, that I was finishing up, and I was always talking to them about projects I was working on or the fun I was having in class, or I was asking them marketing questions, because the managers have to make those kind of decisions for like the marketing materials for the year. And I was constantly getting their insights about, like, okay, I have this project. How would you do that? How would you set this for the year? How would the budget be? And so I think they already knew my story. I kind of, maybe chatted them too much, but it wasn't like a surprise when I
restaurateurs are always really tight. So I feel like everybody's always really tight at the restaurant. So
they really are. I ended up working there almost 7 years, I think. The first 3 or 4 being in the front of the house, and then the last 3 or 4 being working in behind the scenes in the offices. And getting to train with their PR team, and getting to, I would say train at the French Laundry, but it was basically you just watch the French laundry work for one day. And so kind of being a fly on the wall and watching how the kitchen works. And
that's so cool.
Yeah. It was,
that's awesome, dude.
It was really amazing, and as a surprise, they invited me to dine in the box at the end of the shift. And so after
for those who don't know, what is that? What is the box?
So the box is a private. It's basically the office that's inside the kitchen, and it's where like the chef de cuisine or Chef Thomas Keller would answer the phone and do the things they do for the day, and it's kind of enclosed a little bit, but it has a glass so you can see the kitchen working, and they turn it into a private dining experience for one person. And you can't make reservations for it, you just get invited to it.
That's cool.
And so
that's awesome.
They're like, now that you're done, they'd like to invite you to dine in the box. So I had 16 courses served to me, and it was truffle season, so they present this truffle, and coming from the east side, I'm like I was like, oh my god. And so and I hadn't the first time I had French cuisine was when I was 19 or 20, because I worked at my friend had worked at Bouchon first before I worked there, and we dined, and I was just blown away, because I was like, oh my god, this is my first time having any of this stuff. And so it definitely felt spoiled working there, and they were very supportive of me. But like I said, they already had a design company, and so the amount of design projects I could actually work on was a little bit limited. But in terms of understanding branding, project management, marketing, I felt like I got a master's class in that. And I did do a lot of the event design for the private dining that we would do. So all those, CES and all those big conventions that come, they need to-go gifts. So I would design all the little tags. I would design all their event signage, anything that they had at the event. And so I kind of had these weekly clients that I got to meet with and do their signage and their digital signage that would go inside the hotel.
Oh, okay.
But also getting to art direct the photo shoots there, and just training by watching the photographers and learning how they did a shot list, and learning how they were stylizing the food, and also just learning that all the photos had to tell the story, and how thought out everything was before they even got to the shoot. Sometimes when you're in school, you don't understand how much goes into one thing. And you're but it's not just okay, we have to take a photo of cookies today. It's what else is going on the page? Are we going to do over? Are we going to go this view? What's the story we're telling?
Why are we taking a photo of these cookies? That's interesting. Okay, so you're doing,
and so just watching that, learning that full shot list, and so doing continuity of it's warm lighting here, it's daytime lighting, is everything daytime lighting, or is this going to be a nighttime meal, and just stuff like that. Where it's just it was so involved, and I just appreciated the care that they took in the brand so much. So much. The brand standards are insane. The brand manager would never let anyone get away with anything. If you try to do something outside of the thing, she was like,
nope.
No. No.
Shut down.
And at the time I was
Damn.
like, she's so strict. But
Yeah.
now you're just like, I appreciate it so much. I think at the time you just think like, oh, could I just do this one little thing myself? She's like, no. Goes through proper channels, like nothing with the brand is messed
It's so
with.
awesome
It's
to hear
so-
too that
yeah.
the buck stops at the brand manager because that's their title. Like it should go to them. And once they say
Yeah.
no, like that's not part of the brand versus like I know at some other companies, you know, they might say, "Oh, well, I can do this because well, we're launching this project. It's brand new. It might not be a part of the brand." But no, that's you have to keep everything very cohesive. And I'm very happy to hear that they are very strict about it at not Bouchon, at the Thomas Keller company.
Well, the whole group is called the Thomas Keller Restaurant Group, but yeah,
Thomas Keller
she
Restaurant
did all the
Group, yeah.
brands, and then his fiance Laura, she was I believe it's still her. I don't know her exact title because it's been a very long time since I've worked there, but she was either a brand ambassador or the director of brand, and then she had a brand manager that worked right under her, and there was like brand manager basically had a lot of pull, then maybe she'll work with Laura. Final say is always Thomas, but just for like the regular stuff, she could just sign. But any new brands, definitely, that's the three. That's the three
That's
that you
awesome.
go like, and you don't go around the brand manager. You couldn't.
Yeah.
Like, that's not.
No. Good.
You couldn't try to sneak a design around her to somebody else. Like it would. And so,
but
I
no,
would
Thomas
order a
said it
lot
was
of-
good. No.
Yeah, but it was
That's
also it helped me with my communications too, because I also had to order a lot of stuff through her for level things we were working on, and so learning like everything you have to tell somebody, all the assets you need for these different projects that that the brand needs. That was really interesting. But the other thing that I learned there was just scheduling stuff. So they were so meticulous that like if you could plan something, you plan it. So you, especially for restaurants, a little bit easier, but a lot of businesses, you kind of know what your specials are going to be for the year. Like what are the holiday menus? What are the things that you're going to celebrate? And since we would kind of plan these changing of the menus every quarterly, we would book a photographer, have them take pictures of the whole menu, and then we would order all of the design specs that we need for the quarter, and then what we need for the year, so that we could handle any pop-up things that we would need easier. But
and that's how you
like
should
that
do
was
it.
It was like this. My first impression of working with a company was like, okay, this is this is how you do it. It took them a little bit longer too because they're a smaller company, so you want to give them the time to finish the projects, but the level of the quality that they produced, you know, was just really nice. Like her cookbooks that she did was always award winning, and the layout of it was always inspiring. So just really
That's
nice
awesome.
to see all that stuff.
How long did you work for them? Oh, go ahead, Martin.
I'm so jealous of your journey because like I feel like you got so much like wonderful knowledge from your middle school, high school, all the way to your professional career. But that's the path that you put yourself on, and you went and got it. Like something you said last time was like you made it known what you wanted. You told them that this is what I want. This is what I'm doing. You weren't going to school and just working there and being silent. No, you were telling them like, I'm trying to get into marketing. I'm trying to become a designer. And that I feel like that opened doors because you're the one that you're like, this is what I want. This is where I'm going. And if you guys want me there, then put me there. It's a good job. I'm so jealous. So jealous.
But she also
So
put the
sweet.
work in, you know. You're
Of
jealous,
course,
but like she put the work in from 16. You're working your job. You're going to school. You're putting in all those extra hours. Then you're going over to college, and you did switch, which you know. You kind of put art on the back end, but then you switch back, and you know you were putting that work in, and you finally got the job at Bouchon. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was super nice, and they were really, really supportive. And it was just the thing that I think missed in my job after that was mentorship. Like that was such a big thing at the company. I had so many mentors. Like we had a director, Brian Cochran, that, you know, I just went to him and I was like, you know, I don't have enough money for like a master's school or to go get my master's, but I really, I admired his business acumen, and I was like, can I just sit in some meetings? Like, can I just start sitting in some meetings? I won't say anything. I would just be there taking notes, whatever. I kind of want to see how things are run, how decisions are made, and how often like you guys are chatting about certain things. And it's not like how my next job where you have meetings all day. So when I'm going to meetings, it was like maybe one a day or something like that. And so I just got to sit in and watch like these really amazing business deals and how people were negotiating and how much that stuff is reliant on relationships. Like they're getting this deal because of the relationship they have and how important like that aspect is in anything you do. So even if you're a freelance designer or if you're just someone looking for a job, like you have to build relationships. And they're gonna be more willing to give you the perfect spot at Venetian for your new bakery over someone else because you have this relationship from before.
Yeah.
And so that's something I was like, okay, networking and relationships is so vital, and you really need to build on that. And so that's also something I really recommend to designers to this day. Like, make that kind of do relationship building. I know it's hard to go to.
Don't burn those
events.
Bridges.
Don't burn bridges,
don't burn them.
especially not in Vegas. It's a tiny town. It seems
sure.
like it's a big city, but everybody knows each other. So don't burn bridges.
Oh yeah. You touched on it a couple of times. You were working at Bouchon. It sounds like you had an amazing job. What made you go from Bouchon to your next job?
If I could have grown as a designer there, I would have stayed for sure. But that's just not. There was growth if I wanted to be a manager or some other thing, but that's just not what I wanted. And
but you're talking like manager in food.
Like food
deviating
and beverage or something like that. Yeah, there's plenty of opportunities there, but they just had a really small marketing team, and the brand director position is not going to open up. The brand manager had been there for over a decade, and so I just knew I learned as much as I could, and I was like, I think it's time for me to be a designer full time. And that's also because I was so scared to put it in, but how it came about is, again, like relationships. So I had a girlfriend who was working at the Review Journal, and somebody had just mentioned that they were looking for a marketing designer for the marketing department. And she's like, I have the perfect person for you. Because again, I was telling all my friends, I think it's time for me to move on. And I was kind of putting it out there that like, I'm looking if you hear anything, but don't, not too loudly. And so I got an email, and it was the first time I ever got poached in my career, where it was like, oh, I don't even have to apply to this position. Like, they're reaching out to me. They want me to come interview for this thing. And so I did that, and I was like, they're like, it's going to be a full-time marketing design position in the marketing department. And it's a whole different branch, right? I'm in food and beverage. Now I'm going to media. This is newspapers, magazines, whatever. So it was very scary, but they seemed very confident in when they were interviewing me. And so when they offered me the job, I was like, okay, I'm going to take it. And nice. I remember telling my boss, like, I was so scared to just be like, I'm going to leave. But he was really nice about it. And he's like, I don't blame you. He's like, everybody knows that, like your end goal is different than what we can offer you here. He's like, but if you need a letter, if you need anything, like, we're here, like, whatever. So anytime I've gone, you've been with me, anytime I've gone there to have dinner or lunch, they've always been super nice, super gracious. I've always kept in touch with the people. Some of them don't work there anymore, but I've always tried to keep in touch with my old coworkers. And I left on a good note. And but I did hear from a couple of people that they had to hire like 3 or 4 people to replace my position.
Wow.
Yeah.
After so many years, you just acquire so many different projects and things like that. And so,
and you just know the processes, and it's kind of ingrained in you, and you just like work it. Yeah.
I was just working, and it was hard. It was hard to leave having amazing coffee and croissants every morning at my ready, and then going to the Review Journal, which was, again, it's a nice opportunity, but having a vending machine, coffee machine, and like... Yeah.
Well, I eventually, when we were working there, I eventually brought a coffie machine and I started making coffee.
Yes,
but
and that changed our life. That vending machine, coffee machine is rough.
Yeah, it was rough. It was like you push a button, it dispenses the coffee. You don't know how long that coffee's been sitting in there. The water.
I felt like a princess going from like Busan to the RJ was like, it was so cool because I was like, I have my first real design job. Like this is going to be, I was kind of scared because again, I didn't know if I was going to be fast enough because a lot of what I did before was project management and then like a couple of like event design stuff. And I just always felt like I had enough time, but it wasn't so much of a crunch all the time. And so when I first got to the RJ, it was like I was in a meeting the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And, I was
and
like,
it's media. It's like everything is like
okay.
boom, boom, boom.
They're like, what do you think of this website design? And I was like, oh, okay. And I'm giving tips. And then they're like, actually, we need this ad to go out by the end of the day. Whoever was working on it is out sick and we just need this to go. And I was like, oh my God, okay, I can do this. And so I freaked out for like a second. And I also had never worked with stock sites. There's no stock. We didn't use stock at the, we have our own assets.
Yeah, you had to really plan around your stuff.
And so I was so amazed by stock sites. When I first got to the RJ, I was like, you can just download icon sets. Like you can just, so it was kind of going from like having to think of one brand to like, I can just do whatever I want. I can download any asset I want was kind of a different mindset. But that's something I will say to people is like, don't be afraid, just start. Like you're going to feel overwhelmed. You're going to feel a little bit scared. Like if you're just getting out of school or if the job is a little bit different than what you did before, like you're going to figure it out. It's the sink or swim. You're going to swim. You have enough skills in you. This YouTube, you can just go to the bathroom real quick, watch when you need, go back to your desk.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really fine. And so got my branding skills at Busan, and then I got my like deadline, like we need this stuff out, we need project management, we need to do efficiencies at the RJ. It was like every day there's stuff hitting because newspapers go out every day and there's multiple newspapers, magazines go out quarterly, sometimes weekly. So we had 20 different products that are having different stuff all at the same time. And then Sly knows all about this, but there was a digital ad company in-house. So they're also selling digital ads on the exchange. Those are going out every day. And so that was like where I learned how to manage a team. And
on top of you left out, on top of that, they also had an outsourcing company that you had to manage.
Oh, right. Yeah. So that was another thing. So when I first got to the RJ, I was the marketing and design specialist. And so all of the designers were kind of sitting in different areas. There was some grouped for like special projects, some sitting in the IT department, some sitting in sales, and I was alone in marketing. And I remember I kept getting kind of like, I would get projects, but sometimes it would be redundant because they were already ordered it from somebody else, or they forgot who they ordered it from. So I would get changes on somebody else's stuff. And the communication was just really crazy. And then every department had their own way of ordering a creative. Some people were like, you can just email me. Some people were using Zendesk. Some people were using, I can't even remember. It was like 3 or 4 different softwares, where you could order, like where you could say, I need this poster, I need this ad or whatever. And so again, I wasn't quiet about saying, I think some of the way the structure of the company is a little bit inefficient. Like I really believe the designers should sit together, and I don't 100% think we need this third-party company because they were, again, on a different time zone. And so if you needed something after 5 p.m., they're already gone. And like, I need that because the print, like this newspaper is going to go to print. Somebody has to be here after 5. And so
they have all the files.
They have the files. So not having access to the files was like kind of crazy. And so I kind of always championed like, hey, I think not saying 100% myself, but I kept saying, I think we need to have one person manage all the designers and they need to be in a department. And I kept saying that in a bunch of management meetings. And then I was like, and if you want to make me that manager, I wouldn't be opposed. So it's something we need. I wouldn't mind answering to somebody, but if you want to go ahead and promote me, I would do that. And so, within a year, we had gotten bought out by a different company, and I had already negotiated with the previous company that I would do that. And so I got promoted to creative director and consolidated all the designers, and then negotiated with them that I had to do all the math and the budget of, I could replace the third-party company with 3 additional people and moving some of the part-time people we had to full-time. And then they were also doing a little bit of crazy stuff with, we had people that were still, what's it called when you have a temp agency? Yeah. They were still
temps.
technical temps, but they'd been
That's
there for a
right.
couple
Yeah,
of
I
years.
forgot about that.
So we moved them over to regular employees. So again, that bumps up the cost with insurance and stuff. But I just thought, I just wanted them to be full, like it's the right thing to do for one, and we could do it with the budget. So, and I wanted to have employee retention, and so making them full employees seemed like a good faith effort to keep them to stay with the changeover, the new management, and everything like that. And so, that's when I learned how to be a manager, and that it was a lot. So that's when I reached out to Sly. We'd already known each other at AIJ Las Vegas.
That's right. Yeah, and that's where I was like, man, she really knows all of her stuff, because she was at AIGA doing like the events and managing, or the events coordinator.
Yeah, I was the events. I was the event chair for like a month.
And just like watching you do all that stuff, I was like, man, you really, like, obviously coming from Bouchon, you do everything, all the steps. Whereas like me, I was like, oh, what comes next? What do we do in this? And you're like, oh, this is all we have to do. Boom, 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 boom. And I was like, I never even thought about half the stuff on this sheet.
Yeah,
that's the one thing I love about you, Angela, is like, when I was in AIJ, if I brought you an idea, you were already thinking about all the different possibilities and how am I going to get this done? What does he need to get this done? And then you would follow up by making it happen. And that's like, yeah, you were. It was great, like being with you in AIJ and like working under your leadership, like amazing.
That's so nice to hear.
Yeah.
I feel like I really do like project management. I like hearing other people's ideas and just thinking, okay, like, how can we get this to fruition? Like, that's such a good idea. Like, Sly had that really great idea for Lush. It's like, oh my God, that's such an amazing idea to bring poets and designers and have this little secret. Like, you get a poem and you don't get to know about the poet. The poet doesn't get to know about the designer.
Yeah.
They don't get to have any brief. The designer just interprets the poem. And has to design a poster for it, and then it's also an art show, and then the poets do a reading, and then they get to meet each other there for the first time and have this great creative chat of like how, like, that's so interesting. So it was like, yeah, how do we get that to be really amazing? And so learning event management at Bouchon and having to do like daily events all the time, like learning how to have a checklist and turning it into a process that you just repeat. So again, like when pop-ups happen, because you will forget something will not go according to plan, and being able to like handle that in the moment because you've handled all the stuff that you could think of. And so that is like always my motto, is that I try to think of everything that I can, so that all the stuff that I can't foresee, know that I can't foresee that, but I will be able to have hopefully cool head about it when it happens, because I'm not stressed about other stuff. And so I try to set myself up for success later. But yeah, it's on the flip side of that though, I have to be careful about not overthinking, which is the thing that I do. And I need people like Sly and Martin to bring me back. We need to get this done.
So at your time at the RJ, like, what did you do while you were there, and like, how did you go from, you said, marketing all the way to creative director?
Yeah, so I, again, like at Bouchon, was not quiet about my goals. You know, I always I want to be creative director, a marketing director, knew that, and that, you know, there was a team that could be led because they were far out. And so when I was having these conversations, originally the marketing department was under the sales director, or the sales VP of sales. And so I had a really good relationship with him, and I was able to negotiate kind of all of these things with him, which was really nice. And so I was really proud of myself, because we kind of had a standoff a little bit. He wanted to give me, I think it was like a $5,000 raise or something like that. And I remember rejecting it and saying,
really?
like, even though this was it was my dream job. they knew it was my dream job because I wasn't quiet about it. So I think they thought they had leverage over me. And I just thought, okay, maybe I need to play this smarter. And I just told them, like, actually, I'm going to be right now I had managed one person. They gave me an assistant about halfway into my first year. And I was like, right now I manage one person and I didn't have any increase in pay since my first year, which is fine. I was like, but now I would have an increase of 11 employees and I would have to manage not only these products, but like 15 additional products. I was like, so I think the stress level for the pay wouldn't match up for me. I was like, the stress level for the pay I have now is working, so I'm happy to stay where I'm at. If your budget for this position isn't more than that, then that's okay. Like,
I'll just stay where I'm at.
I was like, I'll just stay where I'm at because I want to not resent where I work. I want to keep delivering the level that I'm giving you. Yeah. And so they were like,
that's a really good way to put it too, for everybody listening. Like when you're looking for raises, definitely stress to money levels and what you're going to be doing. Really good ways to phrase that. And thank you so much for saying that, Angela. Like expressing it in the way that you expressed it. Not everybody thinks about it that way.
Yeah. And I was also breaking it down per person. Like how much more money am I getting per person that you want me to manage? Let's really not that much more money. Yeah. And then so I ended up negotiating like I think $22,000. I kept kind of like I don't know if that's enough. And then after it was like 22,000 more, 25,000 more, so something in that range. They were like, he was like, okay, Angela, I'm being real with you. At this point, you need to take it. This is a really good offer. This is like a genuinely good offer. And I was like, okay, then you know what? If you think, I was like, okay, I think it maybe is a good offer, but I would still like to rethink about this in a year about, after I've managed people and if I've delivered. And so then, but when I left, my face was like, oh my God, I did it. I pulled it off. I was like, because I wasn't 100% sure in my gut, but I think because I had a good relationship with him and I knew he was lowballing me in the beginning, like, it's I understood from a business point. He knows that I really wanted this job. I didn't make it quiet. I wanted this job, so it gives him leverage. But at the end, you have to think about yourself and what's going to make you happy. And I knew eventually I would get a job like that. I believed in myself that I would get a job like that. So I just thought, okay, if it's not going to be for the right amount of money, then I shouldn't take it. I can just move on somewhere else, or hopefully maybe they have more money or they realize they have more money later on. Yeah. And so I didn't want to rush it for no reason. But yeah, so that ended up working out for me. But yeah. And I will also say, as a little quite side note, another importance of the relationship is, so because I had a friend that worked at the company, she knew what she had a friend also who worked in design who also knew what the outside range was, what the range of pay was for my initial position.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
It was the most they wanted to pay for that position was $45,000 a year. And so when they had asked me that very scary question, when you're just starting out, it's like, how much do you want to make, or how much are you expecting, expected salary? When they made me a job offer, since I knew what their outside number was, I said, anywhere between 45 and 50 would be competitive to what I'm making now, which, wasn't, but is what I would accept. And then so she got back to me. She was like, well, I can offer you 45. So I'm hoping that that's good. And I was like, yeah, I really enjoyed our conversation and talking with you. And the job seems really great. So I will happily take 45 for working at this company. But, I only did that because I knew what the 45 was. So that was really nice leverage. So yeah.
This is very important information for our viewers. It's something I always tell. And Angela, you were with me when one of our friends, I told them, like, don't you know your worth? And that person's eyes were like, what are you talking about? Don't you know what you're worth? You should always know your worth. You should always know what you should be making. do your research. If you're going to go apply for a job, do research. How much should I be making as this type of graphic designer? If you've been in the industry for 3 years, figure out how much you should be making then. If you're moving up and the workload that you're doing, it's very important for you to know your worth. And I'm so glad you touched on this. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, it was, but yeah, it was a big leap going from a specialist to a director within a year. So
Yeah.
it was a little bit of pressure in the beginning, but it was really fun to like build my team. I was really excited to like build it. And when I started at the RJ, I think that's right when I started at AIJ. I again wanted to build. I was like, I've spent my whole world in food, and I really need to make relationships in the design world. I could tell you every like I was like, I can tell you all the chefs on the strip. Like I need I need design friends. And so my friend who recommended me the job at the RJ had said, oh, this other girl, she's an AIJ, you should go to an event. Went to an event, and then she invited me on the board as her chair. And so it just kind of snowballed from there again at AIJ. And so I was on the board as a chair and met Sly and Martin, you were already on the board also, right?
No, we brought him in later.
After.
Yeah.
Sly just
but you went to the
tricked me.
But I met you through the AIJ events. So we did a design and pass, and that's how I first met you. And so I just threw myself in feet first and was like, okay, I'm going to do AIJ. And then it really helped me though at work, I will say. So when I first got there, it was like valuable. We had a photo shoot. There was an event and they needed an event photographer. That person got food poisoning that morning. I was like, I can't go. And they're like, oh my God, we need a photographer in 3 hours. And I was like, oh, actually, I have like a list of 5 I could reach out to and see who has time. And I only knew them because of AIJ, because I'd met them through events, and someone like Kin was on the board, and Angie Johnson's husband. It's like, okay, I have this list, and then I just sent it, and I got a response in like 30 minutes, and I was like, okay, he's available, and booked it. And so they were like, oh, that's really great. And so there was just so many opportunities like that when I first was at the RJ that I thought, okay, this is really paying off for me that I have this network. And I really enjoyed like kicking other designers' work, and then they would kick me work. And so it's really, I think, really important. So when you're kind of on your design journey, make friends, make design friends, like even if they're not exactly what you're doing, like a marketing friend, a photography friend, a videographer friend, because you're all maybe going to work on a project together. Or you can look really cool or important at your job that you're like, I know so many really talented people, like I can get a list of good vendors for you. And so I think that's also just really important.
Yeah, so working at the RJ, you did all that, then you brought me on, which was awesome. And then after that, what did you do?
So after I left the RJ, or what?
Yeah.
Or at the RJ?
Yeah. No, you hired me at the RJ, then we started working together.
Yeah, that was crazy. I really remember. So I think we were making, you had made a stamp. You had made an AIJ Las Vegas stamp by hand.
Oh yeah.
And we were stamping to go. Yeah, we were stamping like to go bags or event bags. And at the rooftop, we were getting ready for like I think Design Week or something, your membership week that you wanted to do. And so we were working so close together the whole week. And I think I was talking about how exhausted it was, and I was like, and I have to really start looking for a lead designer, and I had all these interviews, and you're like, wait, what about me?
Yeah.
I've been here all week. We've been working and stamping together the last hour, and I was like, you want to work for me? I was like, I just didn't even think that people would want to. I didn't think about the opportunity at the time. I just thought like, oh, you have this cool fancy job at Tropicana, like you want to work for me, at the RJ, like, okay. And so then it just, honestly, that was like a weight off my shoulder, because I was like, okay, I have this lead designer that I trust. I don't have to like cold interview people. And so that was super helpful. And because I knew that you were so good on the production side. And I think I was like really good at creative and really good at marketing and really good at like, kind of like, I would say like email writing and just like the office politics
more
stuff,
of the business stuff,
coordinating. I was really good at that. And then I could really lean on you in terms of like, okay, how long will certain things really take us? And building out the team with you was really, really crucial.
Implementing processes.
And so when we were doing that, we coordinated, and I forget the name of the company that we work with for the creative request program. What was it?
Oh, Zendesk.
Yeah, and so we worked with them to kind of, or Breeze, and to customize it so everything went through one. So we streamlined all this process, and then the big thing that I implemented there was, I think some designers have this where like people don't understand how long it takes you to work on things, or they'll try to maybe blame designers or say that there's
this wasn't fast
enough,
that.
And so I quantified all of our data. That was the thing. I was like, I want quantifiable graphs. I want to know how many creative requests we're doing a week. I want to know how long we're working on them, how long we're returning those things. When you turn this in at 10, we turned it back at 10:30, and all this kind of stuff. So I had weekly reports that would go out every Monday to the whole company. Exactly. This is what we did every week. This is how much stuff we put out every week. This is who was late. This is the late list. This is not us. This is you. And so
and we would send it out to the advertising. Like, here's your
this is your stuff, and so this is good information for you. But then at the flip side, I invited them every Tuesday to meet with me for things that we missed or creatives that they wish were better or whatever. So there was really open dialogue, but quantifying the importance of us was really important, because I feel like a lot of times in design teams you get overlooked, and I just felt like I had to be the champion for my team. And business people understand numbers,
graphics, and
so this is how much we're doing. And we were averaging 400 requests a week in a team of 11, and so that was really important. And then the other thing to show our value was that I invested money in getting us to go for award shows. So NPA and the Addies and AIJ, like whatever we could. All of them. And so we would just win all these awards. And so you're at these award shows too with the publisher, because they're doing award shows for their writers and stuff. And all they see is me, Sly, and our team going back and forth. We're sweeping these award shows. And so they see that, and then they see the report every Monday. So then it was like, okay, there's an air of importance. There's an air of like, we have credibility, in terms of keeping the department in-house, not taking it away, not splitting us up, because there was always conversations of maybe splitting us up again and doing design pods or whatever.
Oh, and designers, one designer per coordinator or per salesperson. It's like, no, that's not how this works.
So creative process
it's just the salespeople trying to get control back. That's what it is. And trying to date for sure. Nope.
And so, having to show that every opportunity that I could, and but in doing that, 80% of my day was spent in meetings, and I really wasn't designing anymore. At the end of the day, it was just project management, making sure we were efficient, and putting out fires and sticking up for my team. And fighting all the time. And it was really hard at the time. You could speak to more how the climate is now, but the RJ in the 4 years I was there was sold 3 times. So 3 different owners, 3 different complete management changes. And so you kind of really do have to fight every time there's a management change of like, you're kind of interviewing for your job again and for your department again. And so you get really good at presentations and really good at like sticking up for your designers. You're like, no, this is Groundhog's Day is what it was.
Seriously. Keeping with the theme.
Keeping with the theme, but
when I got there, I think that was the last person who bought out the company. And that was even like under wraps when I got there. They were like, oh, so-and-so might have bought the company. I was like, oh, I didn't even know the company was sold again.
The journalist of the Review Journal broke the story of the secret who bought them, because they told them not to look at it. But I would say, like we touched on before in some personal conversations too, it really led to burnout. And so it was something that I didn't think would happen to me. That something was definitely warned by every person I ever met, that I was like burning candles at both ends. But I think because when I was younger, I worked full time and always went to school. Like I've always had, so much going on. I'm the, president of AIGA. I'm the creative director of the Review Journal. I'm also doing painting on the side, having art shows. Like, I'm living my life. And my freelancing in my head, I'm like,
I was
living
there.
my dream.
Yeah. I was part of your burnout implosion or explosion.
Seriously.
Dude, on top of all that stuff that you're talking about right now, you were the president of AIGA, and during that time we came up with some crazy lavish ideas that, like, we did the our holiday party, which required us to create a wall of flowers that we worked on for like 3 weeks on the weekends, and it wasn't easy shit. It was like 8-hour shifts. So we would go to the RJ, make these flowers by hands, and it was literally 8 hours. Yeah. And the outcome was amazing, but I didn't realize how much you had on your plate on top of the shit that we were doing. You were doing all this other crazy stuff. Now I understand why you got burnout.
So
I was telling her.
Really a lot. Everybody was telling me, but I was like, no, next week it's going to be cool. And then
I'll be able to chill.
Yeah. But then it hit me like a ton of bricks, and I felt like it was getting harder and harder to get up for work every day, and just like giving myself pep talks every morning to, you know, it was like, I honestly used to feel like I'm living my dream, so I don't want to sleep. And so, you know, it's okay that I'm sleeping 3 hours. It's okay that like I'm doing this, because eventually it's, you know, it's going to be even better, and I'm going to have an even cooler job or whatever.
I'll get even more work, and I won't sleep at all. Yeah.
I'm going to get rewarded more work. And so I just thought like, but I was doing so much, I don't think I was being strategic in my time and really sitting with myself about like what was important to me at the time, what I really wanted to focus on. Was it art? Was it design? Was it AIGA? Like, I should have prioritized a little bit better, I think, in terms of where I wanted to be. But I was just like, I'm just excited to do everything. And so, I ended up getting really, really burnt out at the end, and was really, when the opportunity to move to Germany came along, I, for the first time, did the risk.
First, me and Angela had a conversation one night, and she was telling me how tired and burned out she was, and just tired of her situation. I was just like, just follow your heart, get out of here, go. Like, I really saw your burnout then, and I'm like, no, you got to follow your heart. You can't be here if your heart is in Germany.
Yeah.
It's really hard. I had met my now husband in Las Vegas, who was on a vacation for 7 weeks with some buddies. They were doing a road trip through America,
United States,
from San Francisco down. And, you know, when I met him, it was at, what's the oldest bar in Vegas called?
Atomic.
Atomic, yeah. So we met at Atomic. It was a girlfriend's birthday, and so I was there to hang out, and I'd gotten there a little bit too early, so I didn't know anybody. And of course, this person comes to chat me up, and I was like, okay, tourist, yeah. But but then, you know, we're talking, and he's just so smart and so funny and so witty, and I was just like, oh, it's so refreshing to talk to this person. And then when he mentioned he has 7 weeks of vacation, I was like, you're so lucky. I've never even heard of that. That's amazing. You're going to see more of America than I will. You're going to have to give me your phone number so I can see what you're doing. Because he didn't have social media. And so we became WhatsApp friends, and we just were like pen pals for months until he was like, I'd like to come visit you. And so we ended up doing long distance for a year. And that was when I really thought, I mean, the original plan was him to come to America because he speaks English, and I thought that's easier.
I remember.
But then it was like, I think when I was talking to you guys both, was like, I'm really feeling burnt out, and I just need something new. And I was thinking of moving to different states. And then I just thought, like, actually, I should just do the risky thing for once in my life.
You should just go to Germany.
And so I just did. I put my notice in. And I remember kind of the RJ freaking out and decided, like, they're like, we'll give him a visa. We'll give you 6 weeks of vacation. What do you want, 30,000 more? And I was like, I actually, none of that sounds good to me anymore. I just want out of here. I think I'm just that.
That's the thing.
I just got to go.
They think about that. Man. It's the same with all the companies. Like they see somebody doing something really good and they just take it for granted and they take it for granted. And then that person wants to leave and then they're like, oh, how can we remedy this? Can we give you this? Can we give you
Yeah.
this? Can we give you this to stay? It's like that should have all been, incrementally
Yeah.
done throughout the time to like
It,
raise
yeah.
morale.
They never do
I-
that, bro.
Yeah, they never do. So it's like,
They never do.
and then it comes at the end and they're like, oh man, I should have done this. And then they don't learn and this cycle just continues and it continues to be Groundhog Day.
Yeah. But I was really, really happy that you were able to step into that position when I left and that everything was going to be in good hands. So that never really, it was like maybe just, and I told you first, like months before anybody else, so that like we could get you into that position, take you into even more meetings, which I'm sure you loved. So everybody saw your face and knew like you were the same, like you, like, so when I left, I was like, it's going to be Sly. I recommend Sly.
Yeah.
It would just be
and
the
everybody
easiest
knew me.
transition. And everybody knew you. So it was like a 2-second decision, I think, for them. But so that was really important to me. But so I decided to move to Germany, and that's where I've been ever since. And I've just done freelance. And going from in-house to freelance was definitely a transition. But the thing I love about it is that I got my creativity back. I took 6 months and really just rested. And then I just decided I get to work on whatever I want for however long I want. And I don't have to burn myself out. And I need to really be more strategic about things. And because I had so many good relationships in Vegas, I just already had a client base. I had people reaching out to me like, oh, can you do this? So then I ended up just not ever having to advertise. I just got people reaching out on Instagram. And that's basically how I have all my clients now, is just I would post something and then a friend would be like, oh, yeah, can you do this? And so I've got to do some really fun branding projects and really finding my style again. I think at the end of the RJ, I felt like, what is even my style? When was the last time I actually sat down and designed something? Because when you're directing 11 different people, like I knew your style, I knew Dora's style, I know this person's style, so that I can direct the project. But it's like, okay, but how would Angela do this project? How would I?
Exactly.
What would I bring? And so defining myself was really hard as a designer. Is that something you guys feel like you also struggle with? Is like when you have to figure out like your website or like,
especially when there's so many like meetings in between everything and you're like getting all the information and then you're having to take that information and like, okay, how am I going to give it to somebody else? Because I can't take this project on because I know I have a meeting in 2 hours about this other thing. And by the time I figure out what am I going to do for this, I'm already in that next meeting. And that idea is like, okay, I've written it down somewhere, but now I can't work on it. I have to figure out the next project. Yeah, sometimes I definitely do feel like, okay, if I was going to design something, where's my style coming from? It really takes a lot of time. So I think I have Fridays and Mondays where those are my least busy times. So I try to save those projects. Like if I get a project on those days, I give it to my designers. But if I get something where I can fall on that day, like, okay, I'm going to take that project and like really try to work out my creative juices that I need to do,
Yeah, it's I think really important. I've really increased my workflow, and I get to just learn things. Like I took a UX course from Coursera. I learned Figma.
Nice.
I learned Webflow. I recently took up animation again.
Nice.
So it's kind of nice because I think sometimes if you don't have a project, that or something at work and you just don't use it, and so things get rusty. And so I've really enjoyed having a lot of freelance clients, but also I don't stay rusty in between clients. So I'll do illustrations for Shutterstock or Getty, and they have prompts on there, like shot lists that they'll tell you every month, like this is the stuff that's coming out. So you can use it as a creative exercise, and maybe you make money, maybe you don't, but it's kind of nice. Yeah, those are some of my illustrations.
These are your Getty image illustrations, right? Or
some
the
of them.
ones. So some of them, like these cards and stuff here, are on Shutterstock and Getty, and the little Christmas stuff The Halloween series is just what I did kind of for like the Inktober.
That's really
that
cool.
was your for fun.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, that's for funsies. I just wanted to get a little bit more engagement. I hadn't really posted.
There's 31 of them, right? I'm just kidding.
No.
I love how you just added that feminine touch to all these monsters. They're all, it's awesome. I remember seeing these when you were posting. I'm like, oh, cool. There's a new one. Awesome. Like this plant one, and they're very like creative, and like this one with the Lodago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought it would be fun to do just kind of like classic monster series with like a feminine chic touch, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely think even if you wanted to, you
times.
could turn those into stock, because there are companies that want to reach out to people who like Halloween stuff, and they could change it up ever so slightly. It's if you wanted to. You could also keep it personal, but it's just nice to see something so refreshing.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Aw, speaking of your love,
it's my little pretzel.
Love. The love pretzel.
Yeah, that's my February.
Yeah, so how did you get into like getting images? You were just like, oh, I need to do something, and like I like to do illustration, and you were like, oh, I'm just gonna do this, or
yeah, I was like looking at like passive income ideas when that was a buzzword like 5 or 6 years ago, and so I just thought, actually, even if I don't make so much money on the side, I just really liked that I wouldn't get rusty, because illustration was really what I wanted to work on after my burnout. And so it's been really good. And I do have some Rockstar downloads. The podcast one, I think I told you guys last time, is my most downloaded one. So I do have some like ones that are like highly downloaded,
generating your money.
Yeah, and so not all of, like, some you post and you think like they're going to be really downloaded, and they're just crickets. And then the ones you don't think is like, oh, this is getting hundreds and hundreds of downloads.
Yeah,
but or like interesting countries, and I get a lot of downloads from various Asian countries for the podcast stuff that I did. And I always like want to do like a reverse image search. Like I wish that there was like a way where I'm so interested to see what like how people use the stock stuff that you make.
Yeah,
I would love to see it.
You should. You should try to do like a Google.
I actually saw one time on Medium. It was a Medium article. There was a podcast I used to like to listen to all the time, and it was an article on that podcast, and the head image was one of my little stock illustrations, and I was like, oh, that's crazy.
That's my artwork.
I was like, that's my kind of artwork.
Which one? Was it one of these?
It's not one of these. Oh yeah, it's the one in the top left corner if you go back. The other page that you had, the first page. Yeah, the top left corner with the 2 microphones.
Gotcha.
There you go. Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Duh, it's so cool, bro.
Thanks. But yeah, it's fun to make your own assets and then try to figure out layouts with them. And that's where you should start out.
Just for our viewers who might be interested in like, playing around with that kind of illustrations, creating your illustration and uploading it to stock. How much do you generate a month about like if you do one set? If it's decent.
I gotta say, it's really, really hard. Like, it's really, I think from what I've seen, it's people who have thousands and thousands of assets uploaded. It's where you kind of make the money, because you never know what's going to hit. And so I really only have like maybe like 50 assets uploaded, like in between contracts. I have like stuff for Halloween, and I have basically all the holidays hit, and then like a podcast and certain things like that. So like maybe $300-400. It's not big money
a month,
but
no, not a month.
What
are you talking about? Oh, okay. Wow. I was like, damn, great, making that much money.
In total.
Yeah. No, Gotcha. So like for Shutterstock, it might be like $300-400 a year or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Or Adobe. If I was as popular as I was on Adobe as I was on Shutterstock, I would make more money. Shutterstock is like 10 cents a download, but Adobe I get like $1. And so, or $1.25, and so
they really pay their designers.
Yeah, I have like something like 800
Good job,
downloads on
Adobe.
Shutterstock, and so, but yeah, it's just cents, and so with the other sites, so you just never know what's going to hit. But I would say just try it if you have the time. You know, you
Are
never
there
know
any
how it's going to
hurdles
be.
for like getting onto the websites?
For Shutterstock, no. If you just make an account,
Yeah.
and when you upload stuff, you have to do it by their standards. So they have a spec sheet that you just follow, but it'll kick it back automatically. Basically, there's like a thing that reads it right away, like, oh, this isn't outlined, or you have something out of the page, so it's not good. It's not good enough. You have to resubmit it. And then there's another after that first hurdle. Then it goes to a review process to make sure that it's not copyright or taking from someone else's, and it's about 5 to 7 days, and then it gets uploaded or rejected.
Okay.
But for me, most of the time, it's just upload because I just do illustrations.
Yeah.
And so Shutterstock's no problem. With Getty, you have to apply. So you give them a sample of your artwork, like of the illustration type that you do, and they'll take you or don't take you. And so for that one, you do have to apply. I think Adobe is like Shutterstock, and you just sign up and make an account. And
okay.
As long as it's within spec and it's not copyright, you can upload. But Getty, yeah, you have to apply for that one.
Okay.
They won't just take anybody.
Yeah, that definitely seems like a really good side hustle for sure.
Yeah, keeps you creative, and I would recommend it.
Yeah,
like with
I
Creative
wanna
Market and
try
things
it.
like that, like I was thinking about having like a site, you know, like because you could control the prices, but I just don't like the thing that's nice about that stuff is like there's no customer that you have to reply to, you know, because I really don't.
Well, you could do
I just don't want to.
Gumroad as well. I like Gumroad. I don't know if
Maybe
you've
I
heard
should
of that
do
one.
that.
Yeah.
Gumroad.
That one is like, yeah, you can set your prices, but you can also set it like, I know some people who have done it where it's like, give what you can. So like the recommended price, let's say, is $10, but if you can't afford $10, you give what you can. I mean, I think some people can make it like, oh, it's $10, but you can also do it where it's like $10 or whatever price you can pay, sort of thing. So
For
like
one
sometimes,
illustration, that's pretty good.
yeah, or like whatever asset. So like I've done Procreate brushes through there. So some people have had it for free. Some have said, you know, that where it's like pay what you can or the hard price. So I've done all three where like some are free, some are pay what you can, and then some are the other ones.
And then how much
like
do you average on
price.
that one?
No, I haven't done it. I've bought from other artists on that thing. Yeah, exactly. But I was thinking of doing it because I do like the website. It's a really cool design website too, and a lot of
I've seen
artists
the
use
website,
it.
but I've never uploaded to there. But I do like their branding. It's really fun and
really fun.
The illustration.
Yeah. So that's cool. You've been doing that. What else have you been doing? Like painting? Have you started a new painting?
I did start a new painting, and so I want to do kind of like nostalgia a little bit of my youth, and so kind of doing like just kind of like fun millennium parties that we had back in the day, like those house parties, because you know most of them were taken with either a digital camera or like one of those throwaways, but there was something that's captured. They were like so energetic because it's just like these kind of candids of like a crazy house party, which I kind of had this theory. I don't know sure if it's true, but in my head it's just like because nobody had like the social media, like we would maybe post it later, but you were kind of a little bit more present in the party, and you could be a little bit more wild because nobody's going to secretly record you or whatever. And I didn't go to the party for content or anything like that. You're just kind of going because you wanted to see people and interact and get a little wild. And there's some energy about those photos that they're not curated. They're a little bit messy. They're a little bit funny. The clothing is of a time for sure. And so I kind of want to do a series of my college youth, because I think there's something that is special about it that I didn't realize until now, that I think is kind of nice.
Yeah, I think I saw a piece a long time ago, like an article or something, where a photographer was talking about how, you know, some of the blurry photos or like the photos that aren't picture perfect are some of the best because they really
Mhm.
capture like what you were going for, and you weren't so focused on just like making it a perfect photo. It was like in the moment, and the love is kind of in that photo where it's like, you know,
Yeah.
a emotion kind of photo.
They're just like super high energy. So I want to do that. And then the other thing I'm working on is a children's book with my best friend Carla.
Nice.
And yeah. And
It's because she has a
so
child now, huh?
yeah.
That's cool.
She has a two-year-old going through the terrible twos.
Oh,
And
geez.
so I'm half Mexican, and she's Mexican. She was born in Mexico and came to the States at 3 years old. And so we both definitely have different experiences within the culture. And so I think that it's really going to be like kind of a fun, interesting book, and it's gonna be kind of like a Spanglish book, I guess. So the story's going to be told in both
awesome.
English and Spanish because it's like things that I wish I would have had as a kid, because I definitely don't speak Spanish great. I spoke it until I was 8 and then didn't, and then it's just kind of always been like this. And being mixed back then, it was just like no one's making sure that you're keeping your both languages. It was just more important that you don't have an accent and that you speak English really well. And I think it's really
How much do you speak
both.
it in Germany? Is
Almost,
there any Spanish?
No, basically none. Like now that I speak, I always thought I'd be bilingual, and I always thought it would be Spanish, but now German is my second language, which is nuts. And so I'm at the stage now where my Spanish is almost gone. Like I think when I would never say I'm fluent in German, but I'm conversational. Like I have no problem talking.
Wow.
But I think once I get a little bit, I still get tired when I'm in German all day. I think when I get to the point like where my husband is, where you can just easily switch, then I can squish my Spanish back. And it's something that I really do want to get back to. But it's coming back a little bit now with the book that I'm writing with Carla, and we're trying to...
That's so funny because like I've always seen you as someone who is like really trying to like keep your roots like really close to your heart, your Mexican heritage. And I feel, I don't know your whole like life story, but it feels like you didn't really get a lot of like Mexican heritage in you. And I don't know if it's because, you know, they were like, well, just speak Spanish, English properly and don't have an accent. Because I grew up with that too, where it's like, you don't want to have an accent so that'll make fun of you. But it's just interesting to see that like your whole transformation is the path you took, right? The where life took you, it took you to Germany, and now your Spanish is on the back burner. But I still feel like you put your heritage in your art. So I feel like you're still holding on to your Mexican side, and you portray it in your design. Like this piece that I saw on your Instagram, you have the Day of the Dead, the Catrina, which is like super nice. And I'll bring it up right now. Like it just like this graphic says so much about your culture and so much about you in one graphic. And like, I think it's a perfect representation of what I'm talking about. Like, Katrina, like, how Mexican are you? Day of the Dead, eating her cookie and her fucking, like, pan dulce, right? Like, this captures that essence so much. And I love it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I definitely grew up with Mexican culture, but I think living with my dad full-time, who's white, it was just not an important thing to keep that when I lived with him. Like, for him, like, it was just doesn't matter, like you're white passing, you could just keep passing, like, you know. And then for me it was just something that was just really important, because it's just I grew up with my Mexican family, and you just feel that. I think you can't, when you're 50-50, you can't pick one. It's just you're just both at both times.
Exactly.
But you know, being Mexican American is definitely different than being a full Mexican, and that's a whole different other experience, and the way you walk through the world is also a different experience. And so just being like, you know, knowing where I sit within the culture is like, it's just something that I've definitely had a journey with my whole life. And I've gone through like super Latino phases where only went to like kind of like dance parties and just had my chola friends. And so it's definitely something I've always kept with me. And I still I've not given into the Abendbrot dinner culture of Germany. I always have like Mexican food or some kind of thing that I make myself here. So it's something that I still bring with me. But this is the saddest part about living in Germany is there's not good Mexican food here. Just they'll tell you that there's a restaurant, and they're like, it's not good.
You just have to do it yourself, Angela. You got to start your Mexican.
No, but you said we had this conversation before, and you said the ingredients aren't there, right?
Yeah,
some of them, or they're really expensive.
Yeah.
Like masa is like really expensive. I still do it, but it's like taco day is actually kind of a splurge day because tortillas are like you can't find corn tortillas in the stores and stuff.
That's so weird.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Get into the culture. You got to make them. You got to grind your masa. You got to make the tortilla.
I know what I'm going to send you for Christmas, bro. I'm going to buy you a fucking tortilla maker. So you can make your own.
Mm-hmm. It's actually really fun to make tortillas. I did it with Sonia when we did like keto. We were doing keto tortillas, and it was really fun.
Yeah, super nice. Yeah, you also have some. You have 2 Mexican children.
Yes, I do.
So you can. It'll be a good book for your kids too.
Yeah. I'm excited because we're always looking for books that are in Spanish.
Yeah, there's some especially here that are out there.
Yeah, especially here, it's like hard to find. Not hard to find, but like when we go to a store, you're looking at the kids' books, and like you go to Target, there's no Mexican or no Mexican Spanish books for kids. And when we go to like Ross or we go to TJ Maxx, and like sometimes we'll find them. You really have to like order them or like go out and like really seek them.
Yeah, like Amazon and stuff.
Mm-hmm. So the books that we have, I'm always reading them to my kids. Like I do the Spanish and then I do the English, and we're trying really hard to ingrain the Spanish in our kids.
Yeah, it's hard, I think, for kids who grow up with 2 languages. Like, it's better later on, it becomes like 2 mother languages, but it does delay the speech a little bit, they say.
Oh, yeah, that's another thing.
Think but that's real. And so I think it would be like a nice thing for like the book to have like the Spanglish and having it incorporated to a whole book with idioms and things like that and the bright colors. So it's been really fun working with my best friend who, she has the angle of the children and she's writing most of the story. And so we're storyboarding it together. That's been really fun. And I've already developed the character. So it's been really, really fun. And I'm really excited for that to work on that. So that's something I've been doing on the weekends with her. And she lives in Hawaii, so time difference is actually really hard. It's but we're making it work.
Yeah. That's awesome though. Yeah, do you have any other projects you want to shout out before we wrap it up?
No, I think that's it. But thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
Oh my God, it was awesome talking to you again.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, happy anytime.
Just brushed past the 2-hour mark. Felt like it was only
is that a good amount of time?
Oh yeah,
yeah. No, it's a really good amount of time. Usually
you were able to tell your story
for like 2
in
to 3 hours. Yeah.
Okay.
This is perfect.
Yeah. Martin, you want to end it out with your question?
What question? Oh, yeah.
He always has a question. That's what I'm saying. He always has a question.
Oh, okay.
What would be the number one advice you would give to a designer that just graduated out of college and is a little lost? What would you tell them?
Oh, a little lost.
Your number one advice would be?
Honestly, I think that, again, like networking, like try to find whatever network is in your thing. You don't have to pay for most of them if you're like low income or whatever, or you don't have the extra funds. Most of the time you can find them on Meetup or Eventbrite or whatever. Just look up for your group, and just meet friends, because a lot of times they're going to be also scared about the same thing or have the same issues as the same thing, or like help you get over jitters or help you prepare for an interview or something like that. But it just gives you an ear to the ground about like what the job market's looking like, what people are advertising for, and just giving you friends to like lean on in your own area, I think is really, really important. It's something that I've always utilized. And it's also something that's helping me now in Germany, that I'm like rebuilding my network here and like going to different meetups, like for UX design, for designers, for whatever. It's like the first thing I did to look. They had a ladies wine design here, and that was like the first events I went to. So I would say, lean into your network and try to get advice from other people around you, and just try to look for like that mentorship. It's really helpful. Really helpful. You need to have a community, I think, especially in design. It's usually the first department to go in troubled times, you know?
Yeah.
And so having a network is the best thing in your toolkit to either get a job or to keep a job, or if you're changing jobs, it's something you need to maintain, like the pen tool in Illustrator. You have to.
It's another skill that you have to keep.
It's another skill you have
to
develop. Don't be scared. And if you're afraid of talking to people, just try every time. Even if you don't think you can hang for more than 15 minutes, that's a win. Maybe stay 20 minutes next time. Talk to one person. Don't overwhelm yourself. You don't have to meet the whole room if you're shy.
All you have to do is just go. You just have to show up.
Just show up. Most of the time people introduce themselves, and the person who runs the event, like we did at AIJ, we were always introducing people, newcomers, like always trying to seek them out. So I would definitely say focus on your network.
Network is very important, and that's something that I hear over and over from talking to different artists that we've interviewed either here or with the AIJ. My advice for young designers is don't give a fuck, man. Don't be scared if you're like, let's say Angela did a talk and you're in person there and you have a question for her, but you're too shy to speak up. No, stop it. It doesn't matter. Like, just ask away. You don't think about other people, what they're going to think. It's your world. So don't be afraid. Stand up and ask questions.
Yeah.
Sly?
That's good advice.
Yeah. I would, I'd touch back on what we were talking about earlier in this episode. Angela was working at Bouchon, it was Bouchon, right? And you were just talking to people there and saying like, hey, I want to do design. So just talk. It goes along with the networking both of them were saying, talk with the people that you're already working for. Maybe they might have a path in the company that you're working for, or, if you want to work at a specific company, just talk to people.
Yeah, put it out there, like
about your goals and like where you want to go. I mean, read the room or whatever, but if that's your goal in life is to work in design or be an art director or whatever, don't be shy. Let people know that that's something you're working towards. Because in my experience anyway, most of the jobs I've had, I've built a relationship with someone there where I felt comfortable talking to them about that, and then when opportunities came up, I was ready for them, and they were ready to offer them. So,
it's like with both of you guys on that rooftop, and then Sly was like, "What about me?" If you guys would have never had that conversation, it would have had that dialogue, then there would have been somebody else at the RJ, not Sly. So put yourself out there.
This guy's too cool to work for me at the RJ. I wouldn't.
He's not that cool. He's alright.
Oh, don't say that, Martin. I'm really cool.
But it was so excited. I was like, oh my god, that's like the biggest thing I have to do, and it's already done. I don't even have to worry about it. So it was really nice, and I think I was pretty nice of a boss because I didn't make you have to negotiate. I was like, this is the outside I can pay, and I will pay you that.
Yeah, that was really nice. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
you got
I was
lucky,
because again, relationship.
Exactly.
But I wanted him for the job too, so I thought and he's also worth it. And I already had worked with him at AIJ, so I already knew his skill level one.
His work ethic.
And his work ethic. We'd worked so much, and that he had so many good ideas. I'd already worked with him on so many projects, so it was okay, for sure. It's not just
an idea man, for sure.
He already showed that he had a lot to bring to the table. So
awesome. Thank you so much.
Nice.
I appreciate the compliments.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Well, we'll wrap it up here.
Candy today.
Yeah. So thank you guys for coming, and don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell notification on YouTube, follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok if you still have TikTok. But thank you. You guys have a great day. A great night for you, Angela. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.